Modern time, rock and roll. Next song, Crown Jewels. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Projects Presents Crown Jewels. I'm your host, PLD, and this week, Modern Times Rock and Roll Revisited. We are getting closer and closer to the ending of our revisiting of the initial Queen album, originally released in 1973. We're revisiting it because they released a box set version in 2024, the Collector's Edition, which gave us a few more tracks to tackle to see if they will actually take the place of what I initially chose as the crown jewel or best version of every track. Now we're going to slide into our ultimate playlist because that's what we do here on Crown Jewels. We go through the entirety of the Queen catalog song by song, all the versions, try to figure out which is the best, the titular crown jewel. And, new ones came out. We're going to revisit the old ones. This is going to happen again because, according to Brian May, Queen 2 is also going to be released in the near future, maybe a couple months away, hopefully, where we get to see yet another revisiting of the album. Probably have some more tracks to listen to. But until then, we're going to finish Queen 1, then we'll go back to our regular schedule, which is about halfway through the Flash Gordon album, maybe not even halfway through. We're part of the way through the Flash Gordon album. We're going to continue doing that strongly. Of course, it's going to be interesting and weird for me to go back to the Flash Gordon album because that's actually more of a full episode. See, in a full episode, if you haven't been here before, I give you notes, I give you quotes, a little bit of history, a little bit of who wrote it, who played what. I already figured you already heard that the first time. I have a Modern Times Rock and Roll episode from the first time I did it, so I'm not going to repeat that. If you want to go listen to that, that's available everywhere you hear podcasts on this YouTube channel. But we're going to concentrate today on the newer versions of the tracks and see which ones will do it. We're also going to listen to a few of the original tracks because I think they have to be listened to in order to really get the juxtaposition. I'm talking specifically about the original album version and on the BBC session number 3 from December of 1973, which at the time was my pick for Crown Jewel or Best Version. If you want to go back and listen to the other versions, there's a lot of them out there to listen to as well. You'll see why I chose what I chose. There's 3 new mixes to listen to on the 2024 box set. We have the 2024 mix. The entirety of the album was remixed, so every song has a 2024 mix and not just a remastering, a full-up remixing of the tracks, punching up a lot of different sounds. The band was never happy with, especially Roger with the drum sounds. Brian wasn't exactly happy with the guitar sound either. Almost sounds like a totally new album, so we're going to listen to that, see how that goes. We do have the full backing track, not quite instrumental. There are some backing vocals in this backing track, but that's some interesting curio to listen to. And finally, we have the Trident Takes 8 and 9, which is one track. Basically, track 8 was a false start, and then they went on to do take 9. Again, very interesting to listen to. Very rare I put those kind of things as the crown jewel, because very rare is that going to be the best version. Usually those are more of the curio sake. Great to listen to, great to see where they were compared to where they got to. But definitely going to give it a shot either way, right? So how do we do it? You look in the show notes. The show notes and down below, you'll have a link to a Google Doc, which will have links to the YouTube versions of all the songs we're listening to because I don't want to get copyright struck. We can't listen to it here. This is not a reaction video. This is more of a review of sorts. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to tell you to pause me, go down, listen to whatever version I'm talking about. You'll listen to it, you'll come back, and then I will talk about it. First up, we're going to do the album version and the 2024 mix. Those two you kind of need to listen to together. So they're down there both below. You pause me, hit the album version, that's the 2011 remastering of it, and then the 2024 remixing of it, and then come back and we shall talk about it. And there you have it. Really, it's great listening to the album version, the original 2011 remastering version, and then listening to the 2024 mix back and back to back like that. Because quite frankly, I read about all the unhappiness they had with the original album over the years. They were never shy about talking about it, having to record in the dead of night, having to record with Trident set up. It wasn't really, they weren't a known quantity yet. They couldn't just do what they wanted to do. That would come later on, more towards the Night at the Opera, things of that nature. Queen 2 was even more them than Queen 1 was. So you can read all about it, but it's really interesting hearing the difference of what they're trying to shoot for. Now, I know the 2024 mix isn't necessarily exactly how it would have been back in the day. We have a lot of years on since then, 50 plus years on since then. So it's just kind of the best recreation of in 2024 that they could do. Luckily, technology can help get at least closer, a little lot closer than they were. And this, that's just the difference is the new mix really kind of brightens up that sound overall. And again, like a lot of the tracks, what I really like about it is it kind of like distinguishes the tracks from each other. The original mix kind of had a little bit of a muddiness to it. They all kind of blended together. You can really hear the specific instruments bit by bit, the drums, the guitar, the bass. The field was very specific, and you could hear like the sounds in between them, how they worked out together. You could hear some of the background elements a little bit better. There's a nice little piano that's there in the second verse, which I heard initially. It's not this isn't a completely new thing for me, but you can hear it much better now. It's also got honor to some few things here, and there's a good big scream towards the end at the end of the chorus. Nice touch to it, of course. It's all very, very cool. I'm not going to lie. And it's much better than the album version, I think. I think it's right away, I can tell you that. But considering the album version didn't win, 2024 mix still has a little hurl to go. And we'll talk about that at the end of the episode where I figure out what is my crown jewel at the end. All right, that's it for that version. Let's go back now and listen to the backing track version. This is basically exactly what it says. It's the song without the lead vocals. But it's in the show notes below. Click on that. Come back for more. Now, this is definitely something that Queen has done with a lot of their re-releases. They usually would release the album, then they'll release the whole disc of the entire album, again, just instrumentally or backing track-wise. Now, we do have a more full instrumental version from Queen the Eye, a video game from 1998 that used a lot of Queen's tracks, and they did a lot of instrumental versions of the tracks, and some regular versions as well. But this is not fully instrumental, like I mentioned before we listened to it. Backing vocals are there. John Anthony's "Look Out" at the end is there. But I'm glad that is in this case because we already have a instrumental mix that came out, and it's a solid one. So this 2024 mix, which is it's the mix of the 2024 version of it, the backing track of the 2024 version, is nice with those sparse sounds, with those nice, like that bright sound and the really punchy drums and everything else. So it is really cool to listen to. Very rarely you'll find me putting a backing track as the crown jewel version. You really have to do something really super special because, how can you turn away a Freddie vocal or a Roger vocal even? You want those vocals on there as part of Queen's real sound. Without the vocals, it's not quite Queen to me, but it's nothing against the instrumental part. Roger, an awesome drummer. Brian's an amazing guitarist. John really handles the bass part. Freddie has some good piano moments. The song has a lot of cool instrumental moments, but the best version is when you add those vocals back on top, of course. But it's still, again, I like to have it. I'm glad we have it to listen to. So there. All right, got one more to listen to before we take you home. This is the Trident Takes 8 and 9. Click on that link. Come back. We'll talk about it.
Right, okay, this is take 8.
Alrighty, there it is, folks. The Trident Takes 8 and 9. These parts of the new release we've got from the News of the World, The Miracle, now Queen 1, I love this. This is my favorite part of the box set, getting to hear those demos, those unheard versions, those earlier versions, hearing the band. In this case specifically, the band you get to really sit in with the band. It's like you're right there as while they record these tracks, record embryonic versions of these tracks. Again, for this podcast, very rare you're going to see these as the best version of the crown jewel version. So I got to get toured up a little bit because I love listening to these. I love hearing these. But to my heart, I know they're not the best version I can get. But this case is really kind of cool, though. It's a take 8, like I said before. It's a false start. They have some studio banner, and then they start fixing some levels. But then you hear like Freddie saying like Roger's tired. Roger saying no. The Take 9 is a full run through the track. It's more of an instrumental version actually than anything else. Freddie does have this one little middle Modern Times. That's Modern Times Rock and Roll to mark like where the solo would be. I guess it's not even a guide vocal yet. That's how early on we are in the recordings at this point. Like I said, mostly instrumental, but there's a little fun to it. You hear the band having fun together, kind of poking fun. They're breaking balls about Roger being tired at the end of the track. Everybody else, Brian starts playing guitar. You hear Freddie saying, "Oh, it sounds like thunder." I love that. Got that big ending, look out, yeah, good stuff there. So it's really cool hearing the band, like the embryonic version, in place. They're kind of playing with each other. They're not quite where they want to be yet, but quite frankly, they must be close to at least the guide vocal, because I gotta say that the instrumental track is pretty close to what ends up on the album version. Not the same take, but it's not like it goes off into a different direction, or it seems like they've kind of found at least where they think they're going to go with the track. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to listen to, for sure. All right, that's going to do it for our listening. So now we get back to the rating the track and see if it bumps up on a scale of 1 to 11, because we always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects. I initially gave it a 7.5. I'm still giving it a 7.5. That's You've watched the podcast or listened to the podcast anytime recently, you know that that's pretty much par for the course. It's very rare that these new versions will make me change my final opinion of the track itself, bumping it up or down. I think I might have given a half point here or there. But it's a 7.5, great prototype punk track from early on in the day. Roger getting his first writing credit, singing the track, awesome. So let's see how we insert these 3 tracks into the ranking of the different versions. If you knew before, last time, I'll give you a quick update. It was the last version was the Rainbow from live in March 1974. The album version, the BBC session from April of 1974. Live at the Rainbow, November of 1974. And our winner and crown jewel was the BBC session, December 1973. So what is it now? Well, Trident's Takes 8 and 9 is my least version. This is the least. I gotta say, it's hard. I hate saying least favorite because I still love hearing it. But as far as Crown Jewel goes, it's the least version on the Crown Jewel list. From there, the backing track, I Want My Vocals. I Want My Vocals. Good to listen to, good curio, but I Want My Vocals. From there, it was the March 1974 version. This is where I put that one at this point. Then the album version. I already told you the 2024 mix was going to be above that, so it's above that. So is it just above that? No, it's actually a further up. In fact, it's so further up, it's going to jump past the BBC sessions and Live at the Rainbow to become the new crown jewel. That's how much this brighter mix has done for the track. I took a little bit of a muddy track, a muddier sounding production track, which the live version had taken care of. BBC sessions were better than. The BBC session I put in the show notes below, so if you want to take a listen to that one specifically, at least the one. If you want to listen to the whole thing, go back to the previous episode from Modern Times Rock and Roll, and it'll have links to everything at that point. Or you can find it on YouTube yourself. You can just pretty much a YouTube search for BBC session April 1974 Modern Times Rock and Roll. I love the BBC session from April 1974. It had Freddie on vocals. That was one reason, which is really cool. Live at the Rainbow was great. The BBC session from 1973 featured a lot of cool things. The only thing that cuts it out, and the reason why I'm putting it below the 2024 mix is the one issue I had with it was that it was a much slower tempo. But there's a lot of cool other layered stuff in there, which is why I eventually had it as my favorite. But with the 2024 mix, with the brightening of it, with the piano in there a lot more clearly, and Roger's voice coming in crystal clear, the drums being punchier, that's going to do it for me. 2024 mix is the new crown jewel. So there you go, folks. There you have it. I hope you agree with me or you disagree with me. Leave in the comments. Let me know what you think. Please, I need all the help I can get. Comment, subscribe, share. If you want to join my Patreon, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Would love to have you in that. Love you guys there. If not, I totally get it. Just got to fight that algorithm, right? This is my YouTube channel for Crown Jewels. I do have a other YouTube channel, my main YouTube channel, which does more TV and movie stuff. And I do have the audio feeds for all my podcasts here, so you can listen to those as well. That's going to do it for this week. Next week's song, Son and Daughter, will be revisited. Again, 3 new versions. The 2024 mix, the Trident Takes 1 and 2 with guide vocal and the backing track. But that will be next week. Much appreciated, folks. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you loved your own Modern Times rock and roll. Take care.